When it comes to understanding how a woman's attraction for you really works, most men are looking in the wrong direction. They chase the surface, looks, money, status, believing these are the magnets that pull a woman in. Attraction is often misunderstood as a simple reaction to physical appearance, social status, or the surface-level qualities that men typically focus on. But when it comes to women, attraction begins long before they consciously decide whether a man is good-looking or impressive. It starts in the emotional space that forms between two people, a space shaped by psychological cues, subtle signals, and the internal experience she has when she interacts with you. Emotional resonance acts like the underlying language of attraction. A woman might not immediately analyze why she feels drawn to you, but she will feel something. This feeling is created not by your face or your physique, but by the emotional environment you unknowingly create. When a woman senses that you carry yourself with ease, when she sees you respond rather than react, when she feels understood instead of judged, she begins to build an emotional connection with you. This connection is often unconscious, and yet it influences her decisions far more than physical features ever could. Women are biologically wired to pay attention to emotional and social signals because those signals give insight into a man's deeper qualities, his confidence, his stability, his intentions. These qualities matter because they reveal how safe she will feel with him, how predictable his behavior is, and how dependable he might be in the longer term. A man who can regulate his emotions, express himself clearly, and stay composed under pressure sends a powerful message without needing to say a word. Emotional resonance also works through something called emotional attunement, the ability to read and respond to her emotional state. This doesn't mean being overly accommodating or trying to please her constantly. It means being aware enough to understand what she's communicating beyond her words. A woman feels attraction when she senses that you can sync with her emotionally, even in subtle ways. This might happen when you maintain meaningful eye contact, when you pause before responding, or when you show that you're listening without interrupting. These moments create depth, and depth is far more attractive than surface charm. A lot of men assume that attraction is something you actively make a woman feel, but with women, it's more about what you allow her to feel in your presence. When she feels seen, when she feels heard, when she feels that she can relax her guard around you, that is when attraction strengthens. Emotional resonance is about creating a space where she doesn't feel pressured, judged, or rushed. Women are extremely sensitive to emotional rhythms. If you come across as needy, anxious, or overly excited, she will sense the imbalance immediately. If you approach her with forced confidence or exaggerated bravado, she will sense that you're hiding insecurity. But if you communicate from a place of calm self-awareness, she will feel a steadiness that naturally draws her in. This is why some men who are not physically extraordinary still attract women effortlessly. They project emotional stability, and women interpret this as strength. Their presence feels safe, and safety is one of the strongest drivers of attraction for women. Emotional resonance also includes how authentically you express yourself. Women can instantly recognize when a man is pretending to be something he's not. Inauthenticity creates emotional dissonance, and dissonance destroys attraction. But when you speak honestly, even about small things, you cultivate trust. Trust then allows attraction to grow because she feels confident that what she sees in you is real. Another layer of emotional resonance is the sense of curiosity you inspire. When your personality has depth, when you have passions, goals, or a grounded worldview, you give her something meaningful to connect with. Attraction thrives when she feels there is more to you than what she can see on the surface. Women are drawn to men who stimulate not just their emotions but their minds. When you communicate with depth, you tap into a psychological system designed to evaluate whether you're worth investing emotional energy into. Emotional resonance also shapes how she remembers you. Long after the conversation ends, she will recall how she felt around you. She might not remember your exact words, but she will remember the emotional imprint you left. If that imprint felt warm, intriguing, or comforting, her attraction will continue to grow, even when you're not physically present. In this sense, emotional resonance is not just about the moment. It extends beyond the interaction. Many men try to impress women by showing off, but impressing her is not the same as connecting with her. When you attempt to impress, she might acknowledge your effort, but emotional distance remains. When you connect, she feels something shift internally, and that shift is the beginning of genuine attraction. Emotional resonance also plays a role in pacing the interaction. Women dislike being rushed. When you allow the interaction to unfold naturally, without forcing outcomes or seeking validation, she experiences emotional freedom. This freedom allows her attraction to develop at its own pace, which feels far more authentic to her. The more emotionally aligned you are, the more she will trust the connection. And as trust grows, her attraction intensifies, because trust and attraction are deeply linked in female psychology. Emotional resonance is the foundation upon which all deeper forms of attraction are built. When you understand how powerful emotional cues are, you stop focusing on the superficial and start focusing on how your presence makes her feel. Women are naturally drawn toward men who project certainty, purpose, and internal stability because these qualities signal something far more meaningful than confidence on the surface. They reflect a man's internal world, his emotional foundation, his direction in life, and how reliably he can show up in different situations. Certainty doesn't mean being loud, dominant, or forceful. It means being grounded in who you are, standing firm in your values, and not wavering every time you face discomfort or doubt. A man who knows what he stands for gives a woman something to trust, something to rely on, and something to lean into emotionally. She senses that he is not easily shaken and that he won't collapse when life becomes difficult, and this perception activates a deep psychological comfort that enhances attraction. Women observe how a man responds to challenges, setbacks, and emotional pressure because these responses reveal his internal structure. A man who panics, seeks validation, or becomes defensive under stress sends a message that he lacks emotional strength. In contrast, a man with internal stability handles stress with clarity and calmness. His presence feels reassuring, even if the situation is difficult. This quality not only attracts women, but also makes them feel emotionally safe. Safety is not just physical, it is emotional safety, a sense that he won't lose himself, react impulsively, or create chaos in the relationship. Purpose plays an equally powerful role in shaping attraction. A man with purpose has direction. He wakes up with intention, pursues goals that matter to him, and maintains a personal mission that goes beyond impressing others. Women pay attention to this because purpose demonstrates maturity. It shows that a man is not waiting for someone else to validate his life or give him meaning. He already has something that drives him. When a man is committed to his ambitions, not in an obsessive way, but in a steady and focused manner, it creates respect. Women are drawn to men whose lives already have structure and momentum, because being part of that life feels more meaningful than being with someone who floats without direction. A purposeful man becomes more attractive because he is not looking for a woman to fill emotional voids or provide constant reassurance. Instead, he's inviting her to share a journey he is already committed to. Internal stability also manifests in how a man manages his emotions. Women are highly perceptive to emotional cues. They watch how you react when you're frustrated, disappointed, or challenged. If your emotions control you, if you become irritated easily, if you seek attention, or if you crumble under pressure, a woman interprets this as instability. Instability signals danger on a psychological level because it means unpredictability. But when you can feel emotions fully without becoming ruled by them, you project resilience. Resilience is extremely attractive because it communicates that you won't break down when life gets complicated. Internal stability is not about being emotionless. It is about having emotional maturity. It means you can express yourself honestly without losing control. You can listen without becoming defensive, and you can navigate disagreements without spiraling. Women want a partner who can handle emotional weight without collapsing or running away. A stable man becomes a grounding force, someone who adds peace rather than chaos. Certainty also affects how a man makes decisions. Indecision signals insecurity, and insecurity makes women feel uncertain about the connection. But when a man can make decisions with clarity, not rashly but thoughtfully, it shows leadership, confidence, and trust in his own judgment. This doesn't mean controlling everything. It means you can take initiative, plan, and follow through. Women are naturally responsive to this kind of decisiveness because it feels reliable and masculine in a grounded, healthy way. Purpose, certainty, and stability also influence how a man carries his energy. A man who knows who he is moves differently. He doesn't rush to prove anything, doesn't chase validation, and doesn't get shaken by someone else's opinion. This kind of presence is magnetic because it communicates self-trust. Women are deeply influenced by a man's energy. If your energy feels scattered, insecure, or overly reactive, she feels it immediately. But if your energy is calm, focused, and assured, she feels drawn to you without fully knowing why. Internal stability also shapes the way a man handles intimacy and connection. A stable man doesn't fear vulnerability because he isn't afraid of losing himself. He can share his thoughts, open up emotionally, and still remain grounded in his identity. This balance creates a powerful emotional pull for women because it represents strength combined with depth. A man who lacks this balance either shuts down emotionally or becomes overly attached. Both extremes push women away, but the man who remains steady, even while being emotionally open, becomes unforgettable. A man with purpose and certainty also sets boundaries naturally. He doesn't tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or unhealthy dynamics. His boundaries are not walls, they are expressions of self-respect. Women admire this because it shows that he values himself, and a man who values himself teaches others how to value him as well. This makes him far more attractive, because attraction thrives where respect exists. All these qualities, certainty, purpose, stability, work together to create a psychological landscape that feels solid, trustworthy, and emotionally rich. When a woman experiences this, she doesn't just feel attracted, she feels safe, curious, and inspired around you. She senses that you are a man who won't be easily shaken, who knows where he's going, and who stands strong in himself. Emotional safety holds a deeper influence over a woman's attraction than material status, because it reaches into the core of how she experiences connection, trust, and long-term compatibility. While status may catch her attention momentarily, emotional safety determines whether she stays, invests, and opens herself fully. For women, attraction is strongly tied to how a man makes her feel inside, whether she feels understood, respected, and valued without judgment. Emotional safety allows her to express herself without fear, to let down her guard, and to be authentic rather than perform a role. When a woman senses that a man is emotionally safe, her nervous system relaxes, and attraction naturally deepens because she no longer has to protect herself psychologically, in contrast to material status, which is external, inconsistent, and often irrelevant once the initial impression fades. Emotional safety creates a lasting emotional bond. A man may impress her with what he owns, but he connects with her through who he is. This difference is crucial. Emotional safety is built through trust, honesty, consistency, and emotional presence. It's not about being perfect or overly agreeable, it's about being stable, real, and responsive. Women are intuitive and highly attuned to emotional environments. They can sense when a man is hiding something, when he's insecure, or when he's emotionally unpredictable. These signals activate caution rather than attraction. But a man who communicates openly, stays composed, and responds rather than reacts sends signals that trigger comfort and closeness. Emotional safety also affects how freely a woman expresses her femininity. When she feels safe, she softens, becomes playful, opens up emotionally, and allows the relationship to deepen. Many men misunderstand this softness as weakness, but it is actually the result of feeling protected and valued. She lets go of emotional armor because she knows she won't be hurt, dismissed, or ridiculed. This shift makes her far more attracted to the man providing this safety because he becomes someone she can trust deeply. Emotional safety, then, becomes the foundation for intimacy, vulnerability, and long-term attraction. Another important aspect is predictability, not in a boring or rigid sense, but in the sense of emotional reliability. A man who is consistent in his behavior builds emotional safety. When his mood is steady, when his words match his actions, and when he doesn't fluctuate between affection and withdrawal, she feels grounded around him. Women are especially sensitive to sudden changes in energy. Inconsistency creates confusion and anxiety, which weakens attraction over time. But when a man is emotionally consistent, she associates him with stability. This stability becomes more attractive than any material wealth because it directly affects how secure she feels in the connection. Emotional safety also plays a vital role in how conflicts are handled. Disagreements are natural, but how they are managed determines whether attraction grows or dies. If a man escalates arguments, becomes defensive, or attacks her emotionally, she instinctively pulls away. She begins to associate him with emotional danger. But when he stays patient, listens without interrupting, and responds calmly, he shows emotional maturity. This maturity deepens attraction because it signals that he can navigate challenges without creating chaos. A woman wants to feel that even in difficult moments, her partner remains her safe place. Another layer of emotional safety lies in acceptance. Women open up more to men who allow them to express their emotions freely, without mocking or minimizing them. Emotional invalidation is one of the fastest ways to destroy attraction because it makes her feel unseen. But when a man listens with presence, acknowledges her feelings, and tries to understand her perspective, she feels respected. This respect creates a deep emotional pull, because she recognizes that he sees her not just as a partner, but as a human being with real emotions. Acceptance doesn't mean agreeing with everything she says. It means making her feel that her feelings matter. Emotional safety also influences how deeply she can connect physically. Women generally require emotional comfort before forming a strong physical bond. When she feels emotionally protected, her attraction becomes layered. Emotional, psychological, physical, all working together. But without emotional safety, even physical attraction becomes shallow and fleeting. She may enjoy the moment, but it won't last because her deeper needs aren't being met. Material status may create initial curiosity because it signals capability, resourcefulness, or social value, but it doesn't create emotional intimacy. Status might make her notice you, but emotional safety makes her choose you. Every woman, regardless of background, desires a connection where she can be her true self without fear. When you offer emotional safety, you meet a need far more powerful than any external display of wealth or status. At its core, emotional safety shows that you are a man who can hold space for her emotions, support her growth, and remain steady even when she is vulnerable. This steadiness is rare, and rarity is always attractive. A man who can provide emotional safety becomes unforgettable because he becomes the place where her mind rests, her heart relaxes, and her attraction grows naturally. The way a man carries his energy speaks louder than anything he says because women don't just listen to words, they feel presence. Presence is a form of communication that exists beyond language. It is the energy you bring into a room, the intention behind your actions, and the invisible signal that tells her who you are before you even speak. A woman pays attention to your posture, your tone, your facial expressions, your breathing, your level of calmness or tension, and the emotional weight you project. These cues help her understand your internal world far more accurately than your verbal explanations. Energy reveals truth, and truth is what she responds to. Words can be rehearsed, but energy is always authentic. When a man's energy is grounded, steady, and confident, a woman feels it at a subconscious level. Grounded energy means you're centered in yourself. You're not seeking approval or trying to impress. You're simply being, and your presence is enough. This kind of self-assured energy creates a sense of calm around you. A woman senses that you are emotionally balanced, that you are in control of yourself, and that you move through the world with intention. This kind of energy is naturally attractive because it signals strength without aggression, confidence without arrogance, and self-respect without ego. Women are drawn to this because it creates a psychological environment where they feel stable and safe. On the other hand, when a man's energy is scattered, anxious, or overly eager, she senses that immediately. You might not say a single insecure word, but your energy announces it. If you're fidgeting, overthinking your responses, or trying too hard to gain her approval, she feels the imbalance. This type of energy triggers caution in her because it suggests internal instability. Women are biologically wired to pick up on emotional cues. They can sense when something is off, even if you're smiling. Your energy reveals whether you're grounded or insecure, whether you're centered or seeking validation. And because attraction is emotional for women, they gravitate toward the energy that feels safe, stable, and strong. Energy also communicates intention. A man who approaches a woman with a calm, respectful, patient energy sends a very different message than a man who approaches with entitled, aggressive, or overly sexual energy. She picks up on the motivation behind your actions. If you're desperate for attention, she feels it. If you're interacting with her because you genuinely enjoy the moment, she feels that too. Energy doesn't lie, and because women are intuitive, they respond to the emotional current underneath your behavior, not just the behavior itself. The way you carry your energy shapes every interaction. When you maintain eye contact without staring aggressively, when your body language is relaxed but assured, when your voice is steady and clear, you project a mature masculine energy. This energy is attractive because it signals emotional health. A woman wants a partner who can hold emotional space, who can remain composed under pressure, and who doesn't get thrown off by discomfort. These qualities are expressed through your energy long before they're expressed through your actions. Energy also influences how a woman feels about herself in your presence. A man with grounded energy makes her feel more grounded. She mirrors the emotional state you project. If your energy is calm, she can relax. If your energy is anxious, she feels it. If your energy is confident, she feels more confident with you. The emotional atmosphere you create becomes the atmosphere she experiences. This is why some men make women feel instantly comfortable, while others make them tense without saying a single wrong word. She is responding to the energetic environment around you. Your energy also affects how she perceives your masculinity. Masculinity is not about dominance or bravado. It's about direction, certainty, and emotional stability. Masculine energy is quiet, controlled, and purposeful. It doesn't chase, it doesn't cling, it doesn't collapse. When you embody this type of energy, you naturally attract feminine energy because the two are complementary. A woman feels more feminine, more expressive, and more open when she is around a man whose energy is steady and strong. This dynamic creates polarity, and polarity ignites attraction. A man's energy also reveals whether he is comfortable in his own skin. Self-comfort is incredibly attractive because it allows a woman to feel comfortable with you. If you are tense around yourself, you create tension in the space between you. But when you're relaxed, confident, and accepting of yourself, you create emotional space for her to do the same. A man who doesn't hide from himself becomes someone she doesn't have to hide from either. Energy also shows up in how you handle silence. Men who are insecure fear silence because they feel exposed. Men who are grounded are comfortable with it. Your ability to remain present, without needing to fill every quiet moment, sends a powerful non-verbal message. It shows confidence, dominance in a calm way, and emotional strength. Women deeply notice this because it communicates certainty. Ultimately, the way you carry your energy determines how she experiences you. Energy is your emotional signature. It tells her whether she should lean in or step back, whether she should trust you or guard herself, whether this is someone who adds peace or someone who disturbs it. Attraction grows not from what you say, but from who you are energetically, and women feel that truth instantly. Consistency is one of the strongest signals of attraction for women because it reflects a man's internal alignment, how he values himself, how he follows through on his intentions, and how reliably he shows up in the connection. Women naturally observe patterns, not isolated moments. They pay attention to the emotional rhythm a man carries, the behavior he displays repeatedly, and the standards he holds for himself over time. A single moment of confidence, affection, or stability does not impress them as much as the sustained presence of these qualities. Consistency proves authenticity, while inconsistency exposes insecurity, fear, or emotional instability. A woman becomes attracted to a man whose actions, words, and energy remain aligned through different situations, because this alignment tells her who he truly is. A consistent man shows reliability not through promises, but through patterns. He doesn't text affectionately one day and disappear the next. He doesn't act confident in public and needy in private. He doesn't treat her with respect one moment and then withdraw when he doesn't get what he wants. Women are sensitive to emotional shifts and mixed signals, and inconsistency feels unsafe to them. It creates confusion because unpredictability forces them to stay alert, questioning his intentions and doubting his emotional capacity. But a consistent man creates clarity. She knows what to expect from him, not because he is predictable in a boring way, but because he is grounded in himself. This groundedness becomes emotionally soothing, and attraction grows naturally from that sense of dependability. Consistency also reflects how a man values himself. When a man respects his own standards, routines, and priorities, it shows strength of character. A man who is consistent with his boundaries, his goals, and his personal growth communicates a powerful message. He is not willing to bend himself for approval or abandon his values for temporary gratification. This self-respect is deeply attractive because women want a man who can hold his shape, not someone who molds himself around their emotions. When a man stays aligned with his purpose and principles, it creates trust. A woman feels that he will not collapse under pressure or compromise his identity just to be liked. That stability enhances her attraction because she sees him as someone whose presence has weight and integrity. A consistent man also provides emotional steadiness. Women want emotional predictability, not flatness, but stability. They don't want a man who one day is full of appreciation and the next day becomes distant for no reason. Emotional volatility triggers fear and insecurity, whereas emotional consistency creates connection. When a man is emotionally consistent, he responds rather than reacts. He listens instead of dismissing, and he remains present even during discomfort. This emotional grounding makes her feel safe, and safety amplifies attraction. Women open up to men who maintain their emotional stability, especially when things become complicated or sensitive. A man who can hold space with the same level of presence, regardless of the emotional intensity, reveals maturity, and maturity is magnetic. Consistency also shows up in how a man invests in the connection. It doesn't mean constant communication or overwhelming effort. Instead, it means steady presence. He communicates with intention, not obligation. He shows interest without obsessing. He gives attention without losing his center. Women appreciate effort, but they value consistent effort even more because it reflects genuine intention, not momentary enthusiasm. When a man maintains a steady level of engagement, she trusts the connection more deeply. She doesn't feel the need to question his motives or wonder whether he will suddenly withdraw. This sense of reliability increases emotional closeness, and emotional closeness deepens attraction. Another aspect of consistency is how a man treats her during conflict. Anyone can treat someone well when everything is smooth, but consistency shows its true value when tension arises. A man who stays respectful, calm, and communicative in moments of disagreement proves his emotional intelligence. Women take note of this because they know relationships have ups and downs. They want a man who remains himself even when he is frustrated or challenged. If his character shifts during conflict, if he becomes reactive, hurtful, or cold, it communicates instability. But if he maintains emotional steadiness, she sees him as someone who can handle real intimacy. That capability is rare, and rarity heightens attraction. Consistency also affects how a woman perceives her own value in the relationship. A consistent man reinforces her emotional worth by showing through repeated behavior that she matters. This doesn't mean chasing or overgiving. It means showing genuine interest with sincerity and steadiness. When a man's affection is consistent, she feels more comfortable being authentic, expressing her emotions and deepening the bond. She feels seen not just in moments of excitement, but in the quiet, ordinary moments as well. This form of emotional reinforcement strengthens her attraction because it signals a connection she can trust. Consistency is attractive because it reveals emotional maturity, self-control, discipline, and integrity, traits that shape long-term compatibility. When a man is consistent with his behavior, his values, and his self-respect, he builds a foundation that feels secure and authentic. Women don't want perfection, they want reliability. They want to feel that the man in front of them today will be the same man tomorrow, not because he's stuck, but because he's grounded. And that grounding becomes one of the most powerful forms of attraction she can experience. True attraction grows when a man inspires trust, curiosity, and emotional connection, without trying to impress, because women are drawn not to performance, but to presence. When a man attempts to impress, his energy becomes focused outward, seeking approval, validation, or praise. This creates pressure, artificiality, and emotional tension. Women sense immediately when a man is performing because the interaction feels forced, scripted, or exaggerated. But when a man engages authentically, without trying to convince her of his worth, he exudes confidence rooted in self-assurance. This authenticity fosters trust because it shows that he is not hiding behind a mask or manipulating the moment. Trust becomes the foundation upon which real attraction forms, not through effort, but through honesty in how he carries himself. Trust begins with emotional transparency, showing who you are without pretending to be more and without shrinking into less. Women feel drawn to men who are comfortable in their own truth because this comfort signals emotional stability. When a man does not try to impress, he communicates that he values himself enough to let the connection unfold naturally. A woman finds this deeply attractive because she can relax into the interaction without analyzing his motives or questioning his intentions. Trust grows when a man expresses interest without pressure, confidence without arrogance, and vulnerability without insecurity. It is in this balance that she senses emotional safety. Emotional safety then allows her to feel connected and willing to invest more of herself into the dynamic. Curiosity plays an equally powerful role in attraction. Women are attracted to men who spark genuine curiosity, not through flashy behavior or exaggerated confidence, but through depth, intention, and emotional substance. A man who knows who he is, who has purpose, principles, and emotional awareness, naturally becomes intriguing. His words carry weight because they come from a grounded place. His silence feels purposeful rather than empty. His interests, values, and perspectives form layers that she wants to explore. Curiosity grows when the man doesn't reveal his entire identity at once, not out of secrecy, but because his life has meaning beyond trying to win someone over. His depth encourages her to lean in, to ask questions, to understand him more, and this curiosity becomes a vital part of attraction. When a man stops trying to impress, his behavior becomes consistent with his true nature. This authenticity allows a woman to sense his emotional baseline, his natural energy, his intentions, and his character. Authentic presence creates a connection that feels real, unforced, and emotionally rich. She doesn't feel manipulated or overwhelmed. She feels seen. And when she feels seen, she naturally becomes more open and responsive. Emotional connection is not created by grand gestures or persuasive words. It is created through emotional resonance. The authenticity of his presence gives her space to open up in return, and this creates a two-way connection that intensifies attraction. Emotional connection grows deeper when the man is present. Presence means paying attention without trying to control the outcome. It means listening not to respond quickly, but to genuinely understand. It means observing her emotions, her tone, her expressions, and responding with intelligence and sensitivity. Women feel attracted to men who can meet them at an emotional level without losing themselves. A present man is not distracted, anxious, or desperate for approval. He is calm, aware, and tuned in. This level of presence makes her feel valued, appreciated, and emotionally recognized. Attraction flourishes in this environment because connection becomes meaningful rather than transactional. Not trying to impress also shows restraint, a trait women find deeply attractive. Restraint communicates emotional discipline and self-control. When a man does not rush the connection, does not overshare to gain approval, and does not push for validation, he displays an inner strength that women trust. Restraint allows space for tension, curiosity, and natural emotional progression. It allows her to invest at her own pace, rather than being overwhelmed by his eagerness. This pacing builds anticipation, which intensifies attraction. She feels that she is choosing him, not being persuaded into liking him. Another powerful aspect is that a man who doesn't try to impress signals abundance rather than scarcity. His behavior shows that he does not see her as his only source of validation. He respects her but doesn't pedestalize her. He appreciates her but doesn't cling. He shows interest but not desperation. This balance communicates that he already has a fulfilling life, and she becomes drawn to him not because he chases, but because he invites her into his world without pressure. This creates emotional polarity, the dynamic tension between two people that fuels attraction. Ultimately, true attraction grows from the emotional atmosphere created when a man is simply himself. Women are drawn to emotional clarity, grounded energy, and genuine presence. When a man embodies these qualities, he doesn't need to impress her. She becomes impressed naturally. Trust forms because he is consistent. Curiosity forms because he has depth. Connection forms because he is emotionally available. And attraction forms because he is authentic, patient, and grounded in his own worth.